Okay, today we're going to start talking about group performance. Talking about, what maybe there are certain kinds of tasks, what kind of tasks groups do, what kind of tasks might be better for groups versus individuals. So we'll talk about a number of these issues. Later we'll also talk about the concepts of social facilitation and social loafing, and again, elaborate on groups versus individuals. Now, in certain kinds of cases, people can join groups to kind of, because they're working together, they can do the job faster, they can do the job more efficiently. They can do, maybe if it's a complex task, maybe people with different expertise could be focusing on different aspects of the task. Sometimes, of course, though, you have people who might free ride, who might join a group. The group works hard to get something done, but maybe one or two members of the group kind of just go along with everybody else and take credit for the rest of the group's work when they don't really pull their own weight. But bottom line, there are a lot of different circumstances where working in groups is preferable to working as an individual. Okay. So, if the group has a purpose, if everybody in the group is on the same page, it is useful to be able to get the job done. And again, if different people have different levels of different types of expertise, that's it helps in terms of being able to delegate tasks. Okay. So here are some of the purposes that groups might be involved in. And McGrath put together a taxonomy of different types of tasks that groups can engage in. So it's a very, very interesting, pretty comprehensive model here, talking about the types of tasks that groups do. So if you look at basically there are two, so if you take a look here, you have two areas of explanation here. There are groups that work together cooperatively, and there are groups that work on perhaps in some kind of a competitive way, or dealing with conflict in some kind of way. And another area here would be conceptual versus behavioral. Sometimes the groups are thinking about something, deciding something, essentially using their brains. In another case, they are actually acting, doing something, performing in some kind of way. But all of these are different types of tasks. So based on these two concepts here, you can talk up. He divides it into these four quadrants, which are then subdivided into types. So quadrant one, the task is generating something. Quadrant two, the task is choosing something. Quadrant three, the task is negotiating something. And finally, quadrant four will be executing something, doing something. But again, you can take a look and narrow down into the different types. So type 1 would be planning tasks. So planning tasks would involve, perhaps planning some kind of action that you may want to take in the future, planning a procedure for doing something. You're setting something up for some future execution, but now it is just the group's job here is to plan. A creativity task involves generating ideas. So maybe you don't have to actually do anything. You just have to generate possibilities, generate ideas. So creativity task, come up with as many good ideas as you can. Intellective tasks involve solving a problem where the problem has a correct answer to resolve. So if you're working on a particular kind of puzzle, that has a particular kind of solution, and you're working together on it because perhaps it's a very complex puzzle that you want to have more than one person's input, then that's the way you can do it. And again, that involves cooperation. You're cooperating to solve that particular problem. Now, when you're coming up with decisions that involve no right answer, it's very nice if you have the correct answer, but if there is no right answer, there are many different possible answers, but you'd have to make a decision. This is where conflicts could come into play, because may have different group members disagreeing about what the decision should be. Again, there's no right answer, so Joe says one thing, Mary says another thing. They have two different opinions. They engage in conflict over it, but they are nevertheless, there's neither. You can neither say that neither one is right, neither one is wrong. Type 5 involves a cognitive conflict. In this way, you have individuals perhaps who have conflicting viewpoints, and the job is to resolve that conflict. So if you're trying to say two different opinions, well, let's see if you can come up with a solution that might satisfy both parties. That might be dealing with the cognitive conflict. A mixed motive task, resolving conflicts of interest. This may be like you are, you're trying to divide up. You're trying to decide who gets this particular prize or how much money gets distributed. These are things. If you think about the prisoner's dilemma game, which we'll talk about when we in a later chapter, this represents a mixed motive task. How much do you want to divvy up between groups and stuff like that, between individuals, and where one person's motive might be different from the other. Type 7 involves a contest, a battle, a competitive task. So this might be a group that, for example, maybe is a sports team that goes against another team, engaging in conflict, engaging in battle. It could be something that's a military group that is engaging in some kind of battle. And this is resolving conflicts of power, and that's where a group can do that. Finally, performance tasks is performance psychomotor task in which there is a particular activity to do. So groups can get together to do a tug of war, to tar a roof, to do whatever whatever a group might get together to do as something that is what the group is doing. So these kind of summarize categorize the different kinds of activities, different kinds of ways in which groups perform. Some things to consider is that when working on, studies have shown that when groups include women, when you're doing different types of tasks, having more women in the groups is actually a good thing. There might be some tasks, some specific tasks where it may not make any difference, but overall, for performing many different kinds of tasks, having women in the group is a good thing, not a bad thing. So having diversity, gender diversity, is a good thing. If members are higher in social sensitivity, then a group is going to perform better. Social sensitivity, kind of like being able to understand other people and be sensitive to other people and be able to work well with others, work and play nice. This also can lead to better performance. Finally, if everybody is contributing relatively equally, rather than one person doing everything and everybody else just kind of taking a free ride, then the group is going to perform better. But if you wanted to ask, for example, should you engage, when we should perform a task in a group, well, how difficult is the task? Maybe doing a certain kind of task, getting together in groups is really the only way to get it done. If you're having to chop down a big tree, it's not just one person that's going to be able to do this. You're going to have a group that gets together to make sure it gets done correctly. If the task is complex, one person just may not have the ability to do all of the aspects of the task, and he or she is going to need some help. How important is the task? If you want the task done right, maybe getting a group and getting a good group together might be the way to do it. Then again, you might find that doing it individually might work better, but bottom line is, if the task is important, you got to take it seriously. Finally, is the task monotonous? Is it dull? It may be something that one person can do, but it may be something that, getting into a group, maybe if each person is working individually, but working together, that might be a way to do it. If it's a dull, boring task, doesn't necessarily mean that the group members have to confer and collaborate and stuff like that. They could just be doing their part, doing their section, and that's it. But nevertheless, these are certain questions to ask as far as when to work in groups. Now, one of the things that happens, unfortunately, is that when people join and work in groups, that sometimes there is going to be some process loss, meaning that if you have 5 people working on a task, and if each of those 5 people were doing the best that he or she could, if you put all those people together into one group, the group itself will perform less well than adding up all of their individual bests. So it indicates that there is some kind of a process loss when people join groups. But obviously you don't want the process loss to be too bad, but there is going to be some process loss typically. Okay? Sometimes groups that are poorly organized on a particular task, where the members perhaps don't work well together, then there's going to be a lot of process loss. So again, the process loss formula, the simple one here, is the actual productivity is equal to the potential productivity minus the process loss. So the potentials of each individual minus whatever losses you get from perhaps not coordinating properly, maybe from group members choosing not to pull their weight. All of that can play a role in the process loss. So in the next lecture, I'm going to be talking about social facilitation.